All right, you should be good to go. Double check that hasn't like derped out anything. Fantastic. I was so worried that I would like hit the button and everything would explode, and it's like there'd be like a Half-Life, freaking announcer in the background, like you did the Black Mesa. Ah, fantastic. Okay, excellent, excellent. It's seeing the stream and everything's good. Let's go. I'm allowed to curse, right? I know people were cursing in VR chat, like on the stream. Pretty sure I'm allowed to curse. It's probably. I'm trying to keep it to a minimum, regardless. But yeah. Whew. Just like embracing the chill vibes for a hot sec, because I know like once it hits 1:30, it's go time. All right. Got all the
Breathe.
yeah. I've got like all the things pulled up and set up, and Ugh. I need more monitors. That's my thing. I need more monitors. I need like at least two more monitors. I need monitors hanging from my ceiling. I need a wall of monitors. Like just I need a tiny one just for chatty. I need like another tiny one specifically for OBS. Another tiny one specifically for other streams I have up. Another tiny one specifically for like my game. Another tiny one for like or game add-ons and things like that.
Trust,
One
you
for
give me like that.
Spotify.
You give me this like this distinct image of like like the like that the hacker child
Yeah,
like with
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
just the wall like that is exactly how like I
Oh,
envision your
dude,
perfect like stream room.
everyone imagines like that streamers are like got like one monitor and then like it's basically just like a little empty room. It's like no, you don't understand. We got more cables than like a live show has cables.
Oh my gosh, no, it is electric spaghetti in this house.
Yeah, the entire like back of my monitor is just covered in cables everywhere. Um, like everywhere. I have my UPS like behind like actually aside from all the cables like everywhere, that thing that I have for the start screen is just straight up my room, except for it's much smaller than I really made by a little bit. I don't know. I'm very hesitant to speak on the size of my room just because I don't want to be like I don't want to come off as like an asshole. Like, oh, look at how big my room is. I don't know. It's a weird bit of anxiety there. All right, 129.
1 minute till. Do a little wiggle. Do a little wiggle.
I'm gonna replace the wiggle with a big stretchy.
Dude, no, that's perfect.
I know stretches are always like a gamble because if you fuck up, then like you're just destroyed for the next like hour. But if you do it right, then your whole body is like activated, primed, ready to roll. Whew. I've got the CozyCon stream up, and once it switches over, I will close off the stream, launch up Chatty, and we'll be good to go. Most of this is going to be coming from pure improv. Let's get it. All right. It is 1:30. So it should be switched over very soon. All right. Sick. We are good to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magic Demons and Designs panel. I am Trust Me, I Exist, the little deer on the left, and on the right we have Avron, which is piloted by Mythix, who will be doing the panel later today. What I hope to achieve in this panel is a brief overview of what magic systems are, what their purpose is, kind of their flaws, go over two systems from the media, and then go over two real-life systems that are used, whether they be, divination or what have you, and hopefully get some more information on that. Let's see here. I gotta I gotta get a few little windows over here.
Yes, delightful windows.
Yes,
Please,
the windows.
show us the facts.
I'm trying to maneuver the chatty window so I can see it. But all right, start off with I hope you like this screen because you're going to be seeing that for a hot second while we go over what magic actually is. So, magic, by definition, is anything that cannot be explained through scientific means. It can refer to any power, ritual, or etc. that is outside the scientific bounds. Examples include quirks from My Hero Academia, powers from comics, and even the fury of Zeus. In many worlds, it takes the form of a power or force deep within the user's soul or surroundings. Typically, this force can be manifested or manipulated by users called mages, sorcerers, witches, warlocks, druids, Wiccans, etc. Whatever their name, you know of magic. It's everywhere all the time. Generally, it's used to give a source of narrative, and it is used to give the characters some kind of control over their environment that they normally wouldn't have. We will be starting off with Guinevere, or the Aragon system. You may know the Aragon system or the Guinevere system from, you guessed it, the I'm gonna try and not curse too much. The series Aragon. So Aragon is a huge system. In my opinion, it's one of the best systems that are that's out there, but it also has some of the most egregious flaws. And I will read that little excerpt now. Aragon is a very interesting yet deceptively simple magic system, with a lot of vagueness and misconceptions from the characters that use this system. In Aragon, users draw from their overall energy, which I will refer to as their stamina. Every action performed with magic will consume just as much stamina as the manual action. For example, lifting a boulder by hand would, wind, and possibly grievously injure you, and the spell will do the same. This, paired with the fact that spells cannot be cancelled, leads to many intricate situations where the caster must plan intensely before acting. Magic in Aragon is controlled via the thought of the caster and their ability to describe their action in the ancient language to which it is bound. Guinevere has some very specific quirks, which I will get into now. Let's talk mechanics. So, like I said, mana is your physical stamina, your physical ability and your mental ability to do any task. Every time you cast a spell, it will use precisely as much energy as it would to do the manual task. Lifting up a massive boulder is going to hurt. So will using magic to do that, and if you can't do it yourself, magic is not going to help you. It's not going to do you any favors. It can only achieve what you can achieve normally through natural means by using your hard-earned muscles. This is why casters in Aragon tend to be kind of ripped, because they kind of have to be. Like I was saying, magic cannot surpass your physical capability. Yes, magic does have a price. I agree. Magic is controlled by the thought of the caster and the speech of the ancient language. Technically, you don't really need to speak the ancient language, but it usually revolves around that. Overcasting can kill. It does kill. If you ever surpass your physical capabilities for any reason, in any way, with magic, you will die. There is no way to cancel a spell. You cannot ever back out of something that you have asked magic to do. It will try to do it to the best of its capability, and it will continue to do so until either it has completed its task or you are dead. And only some people are bored with power. There is a system for how people can be given the power by dragons. These people are typically, however, normally gifted, and then they are empowered by dragons, then being called riders, in that they ride the dragons and are under the dragons' tutelage, basically. They follow the dragon's guidance. So Aragon has many different, very intricate, rules. I say many, I mean, that's about it right there on the screen. There are some other ones, but they're not really too important. And kind of the strength, the real backbone of why Aragon is so good is because you can do really anything you want with it, but you cannot completely forget about everything else. It kind of has a backbone in reality, which is really surprising for a magic system. Generally, that's not really, considered. Normally, the image of a mage that people have in their head is, some spindly old man crawling out of a cave with a stick in his hand. And then shooting a fireball big enough to destroy a tank, But in Aragon, that's not the case. Like, mages are supposed to be physically active. They are very, physically built people. They have to be willing to cultivate their own strength because magic isn't going to just give that to them. So there's some interesting deep lore as well with Aragon. So you might recall where I said you have to be able to describe what you want to do in the ancient language. So long ago, in the old days, there was an old man who really, really wanted to take over the world. And he decided he was going to use his power to do that. So he asked magic, hey, you want to give me control over the world? That would be really nice. And obviously I'm paraphrasing extremely here. But that's pretty much the gist. And he let his thoughts wander a little bit too much. Because, like I said, magic is controlled by thought and speech. Well, see, back in the day, the speech had nothing to do with it. It was only thought. So he got distracted by like some bird he saw. I don't know, maybe he saw a candle off on the side. Point is, he tried to cast a spell that was going to give him control of the world by using the world as his, as his catalyst. He said, I don't have that power, but I'm sure it'll be fine if I just use the planet to do that, right? Well, turns out, no, magic can't really help you there. I don't know about you guys. I personally don't have the strength in me to take over an entire planet. That's not really in my criteria, not really in my resume. And so, his race, the precursors, or the ancients, whatever you want to call them, really. Every, fantasy world has a precursor race at this point. The point is, his species was like, yeah, we're not letting that happen again. We hate that guy. We don't like that guy in particular, so we're gonna do something big brain. They had the thought of, hey, wait a minute. If magic can be used to edit the properties of anything we want, but only as far as we can do it, what if we just made the fuel everybody? What if we just got everybody who exists on the planet right now, got them all together on this, on this barely surviving rock that's been scarred? What if we, big brain, what if we use everybody as the fuel and edit how magic works as a whole? And so that's exactly what they did. They sacrificed the majority of their species, but bound their language, called the ancient language, in the modern day of Aragon, to magic. So the only way you can cast magic is if you speak the ancient language. So yeah, they were like, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna make sure that none of that crazy stuff ever happens again. And yeah, so with Aragon, in my opinion, the coolest thing is that you only really need one word to activate it. You know, if you only know the word for water, for instance, you know, in the ancient language, going off of like Latin, you know, you could have like, oh, like you may only know the word, you know, ignis for fire, but that's okay, because as long as you can reasonably have a thought process that leads fire to be relevant to what you want to do, it works. It totally works. So for example, one of the most popular examples of a really, really powerful, very intelligent mage was some sage who lived in a mountain and who only ever knew the word for water. He didn't know the word for anything else, and he didn't care. He never needed anything else. He was known for being incredibly powerful because he just stored all of his magic in a bunch of crystals when he wasn't using it. And then he'd spin the crystals whenever he needed to do something incredible. So, like, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't have the capability to lift a boulder normally. He's got, like, 50 years worth of him sort of being able to lift a boulder to use. And all he did was he reasoned, well, you know, a lake is water, a river is water, a pond, usually water. Okay, I am like a lake that has rivers coming in and out, that those rivers are the magic. I'm going to take my magic from myself, the lake, push that through a river into a pond, and that's the crystal. And that thought process allowed him to store an ungodly amount of energy to use it later. Sounds great. Everything so far sounds amazing. Which brings us to the major critical flaw of Aragon. People do not follow the rules of Aragon. They do not follow the rules of magic that they have in that world. No one follows them. The main character doesn't follow it. The side characters don't follow it. The dragons don't follow it. The kings, queens, whoever uses magic, no one follows the rules. They are very interesting rules and lead to very interesting things, but no one ever actually listens to the rules. And that is what happens when you kind of just want to make everything into a shonen with your magic system. The point of having the rules and the point of having these limitations is that by having a limitation, whether it be in your art or what have you, is that it creates a story. It creates a reason to think, a reason to use your ingenuity and your intuition to get the better of your opponent. If you can just do whatever you want, then you just have a god, and that's not particularly interesting if your main character is one. That's not to say that it can't be done right, it's exceptionally hard to do so. The point of having rules in art was never to beat other people down, it was to show you, hey, here's what we generally find interesting, so if you stick to these rules, you'll usually make something that's interesting. And by making a magic system with a mechanic, that's what those are supposed to be. They are these rules, they are these limitations that add to the story and add to the intrigue of what you're doing. So that is why Aragon is the best system that is used in the worst way. And a little tidbit, a little helping notion for that is an easy way to think about how your mechanics should be structured is asking yourself, if I can go ahead and do this real quick, what is the weakest and strongest example of your system? If the strongest example is someone extinguishing the candle, no one's going to be shooting fireballs out of their hands, calling Bahamut down from Dalamud. No one's going to be doing those crazy, insane things. And that then begs the question, when someone is observed to do something, more incredible than that, let's say they do shoot a fireball from their hands, then you're like, hold hold on, wait, how did that happen? And that is incredibly interesting because everything you've seen thus far does not support that theory that that's possible. So the biggest example in Aragon is kind of just like a minor change in temperature. Character's cold, they warm themselves up. Your body can already kind of do that. They just wanted to be warmer than their body thought that they should be. I mean, fair enough. I don't like being in frigid cold. I don't like being in, desert heat. So I can respect the man's not wanting to, freeze, even if technically they're internally fine. And then the strongest example is, of course, the mass self-imposed, even, genocide of the ancients. They did that on purpose. But the fact that it was possible is what's important here. The fact that magic can do something so ungodly powerful that it can use its own power to edit itself, that's ridiculous. But it's also important to note that the cost is very high. No one should ever be able to repeat that unless they are willing to spend the same costs. And that is what's going to make your story interesting. Maybe the main character decides, say you're using Aragon in your main story, maybe the character decides magic is bad. Magic, we don't need magic. We shouldn't have magic in this world. Well, too bad, because unless you have that price, you're not going to be able to, change that. And that's what makes that story then so interesting, is, now he's got to go convince every other human that, well, hey guys, I don't mean to bother you or anything, but would you be willing to, die to not have your cool fancy powers? That doesn't really seem that interesting to many people, and that's what will make your story interesting over time. How does the character work with that? How do your players, if you're running a campaign with that magic system in it, how do they utilize their charisma and their intelligence to go beyond their normal limitations and to use them to their advantage? Would you like to add any thoughts upon that, Eve?
I can definitely, from the first point going into this, when you were talking about the shonen aspect, if you just have someone automatically in god mode, this is something that goes for magic systems, but also just for story in general, is that if you are erasing all the stakes of using, if it's something extraordinary, if the point of it is supernatural, if you're removing all stakes from it, then it loses its specialty. If anyone can do it, then it's not unique anymore. Well, not unique in a sense, but if anyone can just use a godlike level of it, then it's going to lose its significance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I'm as far as how you were bringing it into using it for a campaign, it is again, you want to maintain those stakes and that struggle, because that's how we get story, is through struggle.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that's the kind of what's been rolling through my head as you've been talking about it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. All
I've
right.
been loving this because I never got the chance to read Aragon or anything, so it's actually super fun to kind of hear about the system. My favorite part about the end of it is it has such a wonderful magic system. It sure would be neat if they stuck to it.
Yeah, it sure would be neat if they followed their own rules and actually made it interesting and didn't screw it up. I'm sitting there pulling my hair out as I'm reading the wiki for this shit, because it's oh, the character? Yeah, no, the character doesn't follow the rules. Do the dragons follow the rules? They sure don't. Does this character follow the rule? No, that character shoots a Kamehameha wave beam from an arrow. It's what? How? What?
Oh my god.
Alright, everybody, you ready to move on to the next system? That's right.
Yeah.
20 Yeah, 20 minutes in, and we're already on the next system. Nice. That's actually really good because that will give us a large amount of time to talk about the two, albeit more simple but more nuanced places, and that'll give a good opportunity for me to speak on tarot. And yeah, okay. So I actually really like Fable. This is specifically going to be the system from Fable Anniversary. I haven't played 2, I haven't played 3, and I don't particularly have any interest in doing so. But that's for a different time. The point is I really like Fable Anniversary system. I played Fable Anniversary a lot, and it is to this day one of my favorite games of all time. Now, I'm gonna read through this little blurb that I've written out before, and I'll go about some of the funny bits because this is a pretty hilarious system in actuality. So, Fable Anniversary has one of the most to the point yet esoteric systems in gaming history. This system has plenty of very simple concepts paired together so elegantly it easily snowflakes into complexity without making it dreadful to use. There we go. Fable, despite its eccentricity, is one of the classics drawing from a singular mysterious even, force known as will. Willpower is ironically not the user's willpower, yet is a force named after some dude who used to be called Will, who happened to do miracles. You heard that right. In Fable, when the Guildmaster talks about your willpower being low, it's not because your actual willpower is low, it's because your power that happens to be the same as that one dude called Will happens to be waning at the moment. Which is hilarious, in my opinion.
Oh my god.
I love it so much. Okay. Let's go to mechanics. So only this glorious power, willpower, the power of will, can be defended by will. It may only be defended by will. If you shoot somebody with willpower focus stuff, they can only defend against it by will. That doesn't mean, it means if you have armor, it does not care. The magic, it does not care. It sees your armor, it laughs. No, unless your armor is imbued with will, it couldn't care less. This is why robes exist in a lot of different fantasy, but that'll be a different panel many years from now. People are born with an inherent limitation or potential. They have a certain amount of willpower they can access. Later in life, they may only ever reach their quote-unquote raw willpower limit. Raw willpower is the amount of willpower you're born at birth, and your willpower is how much willpower you are able to generate at that given time. So someone's raw willpower could at birth be higher than yours, but because you put in more effort to reaching your limitation, you could surpass them quite easily. Because, maybe they slacked. It's true, they had the potential to be God, but they never actually used it. So, who cares? Will may only be used by certain people at birth. It's never made clear exactly how willpower came to be. It's also never made clear exactly who gets willpower. So it's hypothesized that it's his descendants. But no one actually knows if that's correct or not. No one really knows, and at this point, everyone's kind of too scared to ask, so they just kind of don't. People just have it sometimes, and that's cool. And when they don't, well, that kind of sucks. It gets weaker over time, and that's how it goes. Seems I have a lot of Fable fans talking about it.
Oh man, for me, my introduction was Fable 2, so I played the series kind of backwards, where I did the second one first, and then Rage ran me through the first one and was kind of like sharing, but like I know there are a lot of people that have Fable as a soft spot.
Oh yeah, it's such a good game. I
Yeah.
I could genuinely like run this entire panel just talking about how much I like Fable. Like I beat it an embarrassing amount of times. I beat it so much that I actually broke the disc that I had, got another one, broke that one, and then got another one, which is currently in my like dresser, and then I have it on Steam. So
like nothing will ever make me feel as bad, like, accidentally casting a fireball in game as much as eating a crunchy chick when you didn't mean to.
oh god, no.
Because the sound, the quanch it makes,
Yeah, the quanch.
it makes you feel like such a bad person.
It does. So here's a cool thing about Fable's willpower system. It's shaped by your alignment. So if you're an evil guy, you eat chickens for fun, well, let me tell you, your shit's gonna be looking red. It's not good. No. You're gonna start growing horns as the willpower within your body begins to shape and change your actual body, just passively. And if you are super good aligned, if you are so good, it almost hurts to be around you because you're just so perfect, you're just so nice, and it's kind of infuriating to be in your presence. Well, guess what? You're going to start having a halo form around your head, and you're going to literally have flowers sprout where you walk. Because nature is in pure agreement that, yeah, you're pretty cool. You're pretty awesome. And we're going to actually move on to the examples. Now, the weakest example in Fable is the shield spell. The shield spell kind of sucks. It's not bad, but it sucks pretty bad in all actuality. Where it gets its strength is, of course, by cultivating it over a long period of time. It's okay at start. It's like, I got a little bit of defense, I guess, but I could have just gotten something else to do more effect. I mean, you don't take damage if you just kill the thing giving you damage, I guess, but sure, whatever, fine. And the biggest example is calling upon the literal divine to help you. For those of you who have played Fable Anniversary, you may recognize these names: Divine Fury and Infernal Wrath. Divine Fury has you raise your hands up to the heavens asking for their strength, demanding that they give you their aid one more time. And yes, you can get it extremely cheap. And then you pull your hands down, pulling the literal divine from the heavens above onto the ground, smiting your foes repeatedly in the area. Infernal Wrath is, you're like, hey yo, Satan, can I get a hit of that juice? And you crouch down to the ground, trying to get his presence. And then you rise your hands above as you call literal hell out from the ground to smite your enemies repeatedly. And understandably, these kind of require you to be, super goody two-shoes for the gods to obey you, or just kind of a dick for Satan to be like, okay, yeah, no, you're pretty cool, bro. So you got to be willing to shift to one side or the other. And I love how Fable is structured, because it is just full to the brim. Even the lore is full of comedy, and it's just great. It's a great example of how to properly use your mechanics in the first game, and how to follow your magic system's rules in the first game, and how to really make it very interesting and intricate for the story, and how to improve all of the characters by its inclusion in the first game. The major flaw is, I mean, to be honest, I don't really think Fable is that flawed. I mean, it's pretty clear. It doesn't have to be 100% detailed in everything it wants to accomplish. It's just fine as it is, really. Like, this isn't just nostalgia talking either. It's just a solid system. Your magic system doesn't need to be super complex and super over the top and, oh, well, if I draw a line at approximately this position, the flames of Ada will come through. and then if I draw one at this, oh, it's the flames of blah, 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 blah. It doesn't need that. Granted, if you want that level of complexity, whatever, sure, fine, that's okay, but Fable is a good example of how to take very simple rules and sprawl it out, and even just a very simple origin, and sprawl it out into a massive lexicon of spells that are just fun to use. It's very interesting. I actively look forward to every upgrade, even these many years later. It's just good. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it doesn't make you just go, ugh, when you learn about it. There's a good test, by the way, if you're making a magic system. If you read it out to someone and they respond with, yeah, I'm listening, then it's too complex. If it pains your friends to listen to, maybe tone it back a little bit or figure out a better way to present the power. You were getting many compliments on Avron. Okay, 30 minutes in, and we got to the second half.
Get you a sippy. Get you a little sippy.
I have
and
my backup
audience, you guys
sippies.
get a sippy too.
Yeah, I had 2 cups of water for a quick reload, so like before the stream, I was freaking out a little bit as you were seeing for a bit, because trying to calm down and regain my focus. And I had like 1 cup that I just drank all the way.
All the way. Dear friend is Avron, one of my D&D characters. And you
Terribly.
have Fern as your icon.
Yes, Fern is my little bean. Terribly. Actually, yes. At the end of this panel, I was really hoping someone would ask that exact question. I actually went in, like, purposefully a little bit short, just in case someone asked that question. Because, yes, I would love to go over your magic system. If you would take the time, please, to write out the basics, just kind of a basic premise, maybe like a sentence or 2 of what you're trying to accomplish with the system. Then, like, a short description of your system, the mechanics, like rules involved, and kind of the weakest and strongest example, then I would be more than happy to cover it at the end of the panel.
I will save it if it gets put down in chat. I will save it and put it in a spot for after.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Yay!
All right. Is everyone ready to get to the 2 real-life magic systems? That's right. There are magic systems that exist in real life. Whether you subscribe to them working or not, who cares? The point is that they exist, and they are very interesting at that. We're going to start off with cartomancy. Cartomancy is the study of cards. I am going to just read the little blurb like normal, and then we'll go from there. Cartomancy is the real-life practice or study of interpreting cards. Excuse me. Being attacked. The most popular deck style being Tarot, which contains 72 cards, the major and minor arcana. Cartomancers ask their cards a question and pull from the deck a number of cards proportionate to the amount of detail they're requesting. Then they use prompts, written meanings, interpretations, etc. to perform a quote-unquote reading, in which they compile these separate interpretations into a concise statement. Cartomancy generally refers to the using of cards in a spiritual manner, attempting to connect to the client with their soul, mind, etc. Oftentimes, spiritually focused cartomancy is focused on attempting to tell their fortune. Let's see. Yeah, you basically just want to get the TLDR out. The TLDR is going to be your friend. Because if you can't TLDR it, then you don't have the premise set yet. It may sound rude, but I guarantee you will thank me for trying to do the TLDR. Let's go to mechanics. I'm just going to go ahead and show all the mechanics, and then we will go through them point by point. Cartomancy is practiced in the real world with cards. You do not have mana, to my knowledge. I would be really, really excited to learn that we have mana and magic. I am hopelessly addicted and obsessed to magic. I would happily give part of my soul to have access to magic, and that's not a joke. Uh, but yeah, so it's practiced in the real world. It is a real world system that is I actually practice cartomancy, even though I am very much atheist. I do not have any religious things at all. I don't believe in anything, and I don't have to. Which brings us on to the other two, or the rest of the points. It is a random prompt generator, which is that you ask a question, it gives you a random prompt, and it lets you kind of be more introspective among that. So, an example, for instance, is that when I first got the deck of tarot, I drew 3 cards, and they basically said, you are going to choke yourself to death with your own unwillingness to change. And by looking into that reading more, I realized that, you know what? Yeah, that is completely correct. I am going to choke myself to death with my unwillingness to change. I have to remain fluid. I can't stop and just decide this is good enough. And that's really kind of what cartomancy is about. It's about giving you that random prompt through the cards to kind of look deeper in yourself and say, does this resonate with me? And if it doesn't, who cares? Pack them up, do it again later. It is at its heart a random number generator with words attached. And I feel like some people may find that as kind of like a like that takes the magic out of it, but I don't really think so. I quite like it regardless. So religion is common when using cartomancy or other like real world systems, or really just a magic in general. It's very easy to see the mechanics of religion and go into thinking, that sounds a bit like magic, let's do that. Or vice versa. Magic has a very similar system, usually toward the religion that it's kind of, that's in the world. And there's no fault in that. That's just how they are. Both systems tend to be pretty vague with many things intentionally. And like I said, that isn't a problem for design. It helps to not have a massive, well, if it's at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, your magic's actually blue. But you do not need religion to do these things. Like I said, they're a random prompt generator. They don't need you to pray. They don't need you to do any crazy stuff. And that's okay. Magic systems can be just as magical without having the character go down on their knees and ask for someone to help them with it. Let's see. And the final thing is that readings are heavily dependent on perspective. So finally, mechanics anyway. So with cartomancy, it's a very big deal to keep in mind the client's perspective. It's a very, very big deal to keep in mind your perspective, because both of your perspectives are going to be different. And if you're trying to generate a prompt for someone to run off of, having your thoughts interject theirs isn't going to be all that helpful, really, because they're trying to go in with an introspective look on themselves, and they don't need an outrospective look from someone else. If they did, they wouldn't have tried to use the cards. And so we're going to open up the examples. So yeah, the weakest example. Sorry, go ahead.
No. You're okay with me put in a thought here as well?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh shoot.
Did the thought yeet?
Goodbye.
Oh, the thought you
Yes.
needed?
No, I totally had something I was gonna share, and then immediately it just goes
tarot
running off on me.
cards,
Go.
religion not being required.
When you're talking about like a lot of these magic practices in general, like cartomancy, as well, like a lot of these are tools for spiritual inflection.
Yes.
So like even if like it feels kind of like hokey or hokey pokey to some people, or whatnot. Like you can't put, like, you don't feel like it's something you could put all your faith and weight on.
Yeah,
That's understandable. They still can be used as a tool just to kind of explore, like you said, prompts for
absolutely.
you to think and explore yourself. And I really, really enjoy that about it. There's sort of a freedom, like some people can feel a little bit concerned that on the bounds of like, oh, you can just explore whatever or practice however. Like, yes, you can. Some people find
Yeah.
liberation in that, other people get concerned about it. Either way, how you choose to do your practice, valid, as long as, of course, you are not bringing harm to those around you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's
Anyways, there you go, continue.
oh no, you're fine. And I like that you brought up that as well. And that, like, the entire point is to be a harmless introspective tool. And I will touch on that point in a little bit. Once I get through these examples, and then that'll give me a good a good gauge of time. So the most vague, kind of like weak example of cartomancy is like, I don't know, maybe you should drink that Coca-Cola. I don't know. Why are you asking me? And then the kind of like biggest example, most strong example, is going to be like, yes, Karen, 3 years from now, you will eat a Taco Bell sandwich and you'll choke on the cheese and it'll kill you. Like I'm trying to predict the future, right? That's kind of the thing with that, right? That's like the strongest example.
The craziest thing about that prediction particularly is that Taco Bell's gonna have sandwiches.
Oh God. Okay, perhaps maybe don't try their sandwiches in 3 years. If your name happens to be Karen. No, but like it's okay, well, I saw a reptile brain and saw cringe. Okay? I saw that word. Don't kill the cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. I learned that from
beautiful. What a
good
motto
friend
to
of
live
mine.
by.
I don't know who would ever have said that. Maybe they're totally not in the panel right now.
Wait a second, you got that from me?
Yeah, of course I got that from you.
Oh my gosh, I forgot. What's so funny is that I actually credit you with that now.
What?
Yes.
Feedback loop. Let's go.
Yeah, feedback loop. Oh my gosh. What was it? It ended up getting modified from someone that I had seen as well, where it's like, I may be cringe, but I am free, and that meme has always stuck with me too. But when I heard distilled into kill a part of you that cringes, I was like, yes, finally.
Right? Basically, just, it's okay. People are, humans just naturally are cringe. That's just how we are. I write poetry
cringe
as a hobby, and I make vent art on the daily. Believe me, I know how it is to be cringe. It is okay to be cringe. You will always look back at something that you have written or you have said. It does not matter what it is. It doesn't matter if that is the coolest thing in the world. It could be your magnum opus, and you will still look at it like, oh my God, I am so cringe. Vincent van Gogh did not like his work when he died. And you know what? His work is fly as hell. It looks amazing. But he was like, nope, this stuff's cringe. It's bad. Like that is always going to happen. It's because you've improved that you see a flaw in your work. Or because you know how to express it better that you think that you did a bad job expressing it before. Just as a little aside, real quick, while we were on the topic of harm and things like that, nothing that I say here is to encourage you to seek magic systems in place of actual therapy. None of this is to encourage you to go out of your way to read a grimoire and harm somebody. If you read a grimoire and you decide to stab somebody because it tells you to, you need better hobbies. You need much better hobbies, and you need to go to jail. Like, oh my god, do not be a violent fan. There is a reason why the Wiccan Book of Shadows that is currently in production, or the Wiccan Books of Shadows that are currently in production, all use threefold rule, which states that whatever you do is coming back threefold. If you stab a man's, you about to get a crazy squirrel that stabs you 3 times with a shard of glass. And, you know, that's just how the universe works in those books, and it's a good thing to keep in mind, even if it doesn't actually exist. I personally don't believe in karma, but still, it's a good idea to treat people how you want to be treated. And if you really need, like, to look deeper in yourself and you need to figure things out and you're going through a tough time, don't fucking buy a tarot deck. Like, go to therapy. I just wanted to have that as an aside, because I know people sometimes like think like, oh, well, if you practice this, then you must not support, you know, therapy. No, I absolutely support therapy. Do not go to a psychic, go to a psychologist.
It's a supplement, not a solution.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you are going to be using, like, anything that you would be looking at magic wise is going to be in addition to, like, any tangible self-care, like, because we're talking about intangible practices here for the most part. You might use tangible objects, but the results and what you were hoping for is all intangible, mental, spiritual. And if you're going to be doing anything like that, you should already be doing all the work on yourself, all the tangible steps you can otherwise.
Yes. Because not only is it going to help you, like, just tenfold, just in general, but it's also going to just make your experience much more pleasant.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see osteomancy.
Yeah, we got your favorite, your favorite, your favorite category.
Things and stuff. Welcome to the panel where we talk about things and stuff.
Yes. I mean, that's kind of what osteomancy is.
Yes, actually.
It's just really important things and stuff.
I mean, you could like please.
Okay, I'm gonna read the little blurb of what osteomancy is. Osteomancy is the real-life practice or study of interpreting objects, most commonly bones, hence osteo, positions after rolling or throwing them. Or dropping them, really just adding any kind of motion. I mean, I guess you could read stationary objects, that kind of defeats the purpose of looking at their trajectory or whatever, but it's fine. Osteomancers assign meanings to objects that they have strong feelings toward, ultimately forming a list of different markers for the reading. These markers, after a question is asked, are thrown or rolled or dropped or what have you onto a mat, and most commonly read, or I mean, I guess it could be on the floor too, but doing a mat's better because you don't break the objects. And most commonly read based on their position relative to the center, though direction and object orientation are also used. Similarly to cartomancy, the osteomancer's job is to interpret this information and form concise statements relating to the questions at hand. As these markers rely heavily on their importance and emotional significance to the osteomancer, a practice known as cleansing or blessing is often used to maintain or hone the osteomancer's associations with the markers. Spirituality is heavily common among osteomancers, though similarly to cartomancy, it is not required. With most divination, or as with most divination practices, the spiritual forms are typically associated with fortune telling. Would you like to add anything to that or correct any part of that? Also, would you like to talk a little bit about why you are here?
Well, this is one of the things that I have studied a bit on. So that's one of the reasons that I got brought on was to talk about this. Like Trust said, it's been around for a long time.
Oh yeah,
for
it's one of the oldest
almost
systems.
Yeah. Almost every ancient culture has had a form of osteomancy. There is one that is a stationary osteomancy as well, which is the pyro-osteomancy, or there is another term, oracle bones.
Mm-hmm.
Which was practiced in ancient China, and that was where you would burn the bones and then just like see where the cracks were.
Yes.
And the cracks were the divination tool. With this practice in general, it mostly is just what you currently have. And for like a lot of cultures, and you're cooking a lot of food, you're gonna have a lot of bones from
Yes.
animals animals and stuff. But it does not need to be like for those people who like you don't want to have bones on hand. That makes you uncomfortable. You can use any sort of tool.
Literally
People
anything.
use exactly. You could get a bag of Dollar General dinosaurs. And that could
really
be your
could.
osteomancy
Yeah,
tool.
no, absolutely. You could like be like, the black one is magic, the red one is
Yep.
passion, the green one is nature, and you could do that.
Yeah. And then with like having the mats and like you could toss on the ground as well. A lot of them include that you have circles or rings that share kind of what is the focus, basically where your objects end up falling, and where they land on the mat is going to tell you what is at the center of things at this moment.
Hypno says
Dino Nuggy Mancy.
Dino
Oh my
Nuggy
god.
Mancy is.
Excuse me.
So this is gonna be kind
Excuse
of.
me. I need to change my entire set now.
Oh my god. So I'm going to, like Cartomancy, just pop up all the mechanics. We're going to go by them one by one. We're going to be actually pretty quick about
go
this.
for it.
Because it's mostly the same as Cartomancy. However, if you at any point, Myth, have anything else to like add to it, I would be more than happy to let you speak on that. Osteomancy is practiced in the real world with objects of significance. And because of that, it does not have mana. I wish we had mana. That would be fucking sick. If anybody happens to know how to throw a fireball, hit your girl up. I'd love to learn how to do that. That sounds amazing. It's also a random prompt generator. It also does not require religion. And readings are extremely dependent on both the perspective of the osteomancer and the client. And generally, like, would you actually be okay if I briefly talked about like the reading that you were so kind as to provide me?
Sure.
Cool. So, for instance, like with me practicing cartomancy and Myth practicing osteomancy, we occasionally just exchange readings because they're fun to do. Like, I'll just like pop out my cards and be like,
fun.
"Hey, I got my cards out. You want one?" And it was really interesting to just kind of spend the time, and even if it was just like granted, yeah, we could have just hung out, but it also was really interesting because it gave the opportunity to be like, hey, I see that, you know, this is kind of off in the non-focus zone. What's going on with that? Do you relate to that? How does that make you feel? And it's very much kind of an opportunity to kind of touch, you know, like touch the corners and just check them and make sure everything's okay. Touch bases is what I was trying to look for. It's kind of just a good opportunity to hash out how you are, and like kind of really let your friendo or the person who's helping you out kind of get an idea of what's going on, and then just have an opportunity to talk about that. Because with these things, they are random prompt generators. You can't really prepare for the questions they're going to ask, and that's exactly why they're so useful and important. You know, it may be that you see that it asks you a question that's really tough to answer, and it might hurt hard when you see it or when you get asked that question, but that's exactly the reason why these are so important. It gives you the opportunity to speak on things that you normally wouldn't even think about yourself.
Very much agreed. Like it's going to be a different conversation entirely from how are you, or how are you feeling about that, or that sucks. It's going to be more specific.
Yeah. And it's kind of just a framework. It's like it's kind of like how with magic systems, you know, how I was saying how with magic systems and with art, having a rule inherently provides a story and makes it more interesting and makes it easier to work around. Well, same thing here. It may be a conversation just as normal, but the added rules and the added intricity, or would intricities be a thing? Is that a word?
Did you just synergy?
Oh my god. With the added like intricacies.
There you go.
Yeah. Of the of the system, you get really guided kind of questions and thoughts and conversations, just through pure randomness. I mean, you could literally just roll a die and get kind of the same effect, but osteomancy has like a large like lexicon of random different little things that kind of just help you be like, okay, let's specifically focus on how you feel about this. And that gives you a big thing. Actually, would you like to speak for a little bit about your journal and why it's important to have one with osteomancy specifically?
Yeah, sure. Also, I want to amend something earlier that I had said was, asking general wellness questions are not bad. Just to clarify,
No.
my focus is that having specific prompts outside of those wellness checks can be beneficial.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on from there, one of the things that is helpful about tracking osteomancy readings that I have done is that I start to see the patterns of like what like how my signifiers work. Also like even with if objects tend to fall in the same spot like a lot of times, I know that they like, oh, maybe I need to actually switch out what I have on hand so that it like essentially
More
yeah, exactly. That the RNG can work better, essentially. Like it's kind of like if you have a weighted die and it's always going to fall one way.
Yeah.
You want to have that RNG like still remain with it. Was there something specific about the journal that you were thinking of that you thought would be interesting to share?
Kind of just more like because of how intricate it can be.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of like see. Could you kind of like I don't know, like what do you feel is like how do you like take the notes? Like why do you have a journal to take the notes? Is it that like, you know, that there's like a lot of information? Is it that, you know, maybe you want to come back to it and look at it more, or is it purely just for cross-referencing to make sure that things are kept in check?
Yeah, so the cross-reference is a really big part of it, but also it is interesting to come back later and see what has changed, where like pieces have moved
Mhm.
since then. Um, and because like this is it is the difference between like osteomancy and cartomancy is that like there are descriptions, there are, you know, words for the cards. With this, you are creating the significance of the items yourself.
Yes.
And so deciding how they interact with each other, like basically the feeling that you have when you're working with them, like a lot of it has to do with how objects are clustered together and
Yeah.
what reading do you get from how those objects are clustered, essentially.
And I would
Like if
assume
you
those readings
have
change over time as well. Yeah.
absolutely like if you have home and magic that are like right side by side, or you have open doors and wealth like sitting by each other, are they facing away from each other, are they facing towards each other? And that's the sort of the things I track is how the objects cluster, what that could possibly mean. And I like have found themes with how objects will cluster, or like essentially it becomes easier to read them as you go.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is just deciding how objects point at each other. Funny enough, like they're like the
Hey,
Spider-Man beam, basically.
dude, that's fine. That's totally fine. And that's also a good way to segue into how esoteric systems can be.
Mm-hmm.
Systems
No,
can be,
it's funny.
yeah, systems can be like, there is literally, didn't you say that there's a dude who does like Sesame Street playing card tarot readings?
Yes, the Sesame Tarot is so fun. I love that guy.
You don't even have to use these specific ones. There are tons of magic systems. There are tons of grimoires, tons of different things that you can look at for inspiration of your world. For example, my world with Fern right now is heavily based on Aragon, except we actually follow the rules. And but it also has like a lot of influence from Fable. It also has a lot of influence from Osteomancy. It also has a lot of influence from other systems. I take the it kind of, and this is the point too, that I really want to get across with this panel specifically. When you are making a magic system, the only way that you can truly make a bad system is if you stop developing it. That is the only way you can make a bad system. If you consistently work on it, if you consistently put more effort into it, rewrite it, change it up, look at it, see what's going on, see what you don't like, see what you do like, take what you do like and put it into another side. Maybe what you do like doesn't work with this current system. Maybe that's not what you were going for. Use it in a different one. The only time it ever ends as a bad system is if you stop working on it. Yeah. Basically, TLDR, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Politely holds a gun. Do it anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Do it anyway. Okay, and just real quick, to show the weakest and strongest examples, it's, like I said, providing a vague suggestion. Maybe you should look a little bit further into, your heart about this, or straight up, Karen, please, I beg you, 3 years from now, do not eat that sandwich, the cheese, it's coming for you.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, we're actually going to move on to the user thing. The user submitted stuff, or just questions in general. If you have any questions about any of the systems, and that goes for you too, Miff, if you have any questions or things you'd like to say regarding any of them, I'd be more than happy to hear.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can we hear a little bit more about your magic system?
Oh my god. Sure.
Yay!
So I'm gonna try and TLDR it as much as possible. In general, it uses the same kind of idea of that it follows whatever you try to do with it. Magic can do anything, but it takes your physical stamina and physical stuff to do it. It is very exhausting to use magic repeatedly. Magic is a very it doesn't, I wouldn't say fickle, but it kind of doesn't really ask questions. It kind of just does what you ask it to do. It's like a wrench. It does have its, like, with the exception of it does have, like, things that it likes to do and things that it very much doesn't want to do, but for the most part, it doesn't care. And there are many different ways of casting it, many different ways of using it, and yeah, the world's gonna die eventually. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
This is fine.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm being thrown off the wing of God. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Enabling that really weird obelisk that's in the middle of your world that seems to glow ominously whenever you use it too much. Yeah, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so thank you for sharing on that. I also sent you Terry Blinks' submission in DMs as well.
Thank you.
Would it be better to send it to... Oh, you got it. Perfect.
Yes, got it. Let's see. The planet basically runs on hearts with a mana-esque generation powers that give you, that kind of give the world energy, and so anything born on the planet essentially has magic. Fair enough. There are 6, but 1 got destroyed, and that created a dead zone, like an ocean. And it's recharged with, like, food and rest, but the hearts recharge automatically pretty fast. So you have a chunk that you have. So if you have a chunk of that, you have big magic, but the hearts kind of make the planet alive, so people don't mess with them. Interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, that sounds like a very interesting system, and I can imagine where I'm actually planning on using something similar to that in an eventual campaign that I want to run, which I promise I will make. It's just really hard to design, so it's just kind of slowly being added to and rewritten. I think
design is hard.
Yeah, I think it's on its like 5th revision now or something, or a complete rewrite, I should say. But yeah, it's if you wanted to look more into something like that, I would say thank you for crediting them. I would say maybe give a look at Icon, which is what inspired my thoughts on a system similar. Void was ever so kind, Void Quail was ever so kind as to show me that system. And I need to do more reading into it, but it uses a system called clocks, where you have like a certain number of charges in your clock, and those clocks can be used to charge up things or cast spells or etc. Here, let me get that like that. So it is super cool to hear something like that. It also almost reminds me of Mako from Final Fantasy VII, the heart system, I mean. And I'm very interested to hear how it. So you've definitely got the interest side of it, like, down. Like, it sounds like a very simple set of rules that can very easily sprawl out like a story. Like, I can already like start thinking of different plot points that you could potentially add to that. Something that might be worth to look into is, why did the breaking of that heart cause that dead zone? So we know that they are the life of the planet, but why was that bound specifically to that area? Are there other areas that are bound to those hearts? Are there ways that you can repair a heart, or are they broken forever? How are the hearts in shards? Is it that the heart that got destroyed got completely atomized and so there is nothing left of it, or are there shards remaining and it's just that the shards are corrupted by the destruction of it and the means that were used to do so? Do people drain the hearts by using it, and is it possible to destroy a heart by overusing it? Oh, okay. So they are in actual areas. That's very interesting, and that's a very good way to build your world. And I'm very interested to see what you do about that, like what you do with that idea. Yeah, take your time. Basically, just kind of like, whenever I have like an object or an idea or anything in the system, I always try to ask myself, how is that relevant? What does that change? If that existed in this world right now, how would that change the world? If I were exposed to this right here, right now, how would I react? If I had been born in that world and I saw that catastrophe happen, how would I react to that? I can imagine it would be terrifying. It would be absolutely terrifying. And I have a similar system to the corruption element as well, actually. Like to the kind of like dark area where the heart was destroyed. In that I have little pure beings called deerlings, which are the culmination of magic and nature coming together to make the most pure thing to ever exist. They make
Deerlings?
Yeah, they're just babies. They're little babies. Yeah, they're little deer creatures. Yeah, now they're shapeshifters, so no one actually knows what they look like, but it's fine. Basically, nature and magic both got together and were like, if anything ever happens to this thing, I will kill everyone in the room and myself.
Oh my gosh.
So, actually, if you kill a deerling, that's exactly what happens. Nature and magic collectively are like, well, fuck this, and destroy the area. Severely corrupting it, almost being like it's a scar so bad that people just naturally feel queasy and don't like it. Magic beings, or beings that have a long history of being integrated with magic, enter a complete panic mode when they are exposed to it. Like, for example, Fern here is made entirely out of magic, so if he was exposed to it, he'd scream and cry and like claw away to get as far away from that area as possible. Magic beings do not like being anywhere near that, and animals, being entirely nature, can't stand it either. They will completely avoid the area, almost as if like there's just a residual like not good. Non-magical creatures cannot see like the stank from it, but they can see the darkening and like the kind of withering of the land. So they can't actually see like the lakes of like garbage and null like energy that surrounds it and void that's consuming it, but they can see the effects that it has. Meanwhile, magic creatures, anyone who's even touched magic before or has any amount of magic, they can absolutely see it, and they are terrified of it. Because, I mean, it's just a huge black, sludge that's moving around. Like, if you looked where your house was, and there's just a crater, and it's, like, with, like, screaming, screeching, like, whispering in your ear sludge that stuff starts crawling out of, you would be like, yeah, I don't know if that's a me problem anymore. I'm gonna bounce. So I'm really interested to hear about that. Since it's so taboo, let's see, necromancy is banned because bringing a person back to life kind of RNGs a spirit back into a corpse, so it brought a demon in, he took the heart, became mortal. Well, see, I would really divulge upon that, like, within your own story. I would really focus on what exactly happened. Why is it that a demon was able to be brought back? How does necromancy work? Does necromancy open up the kind of, like, port, quote-unquote, for a soul? Does it kind of open up, like, is it a calling spell? Is it kind of like the calling card and anybody can answer to it? That's kind of how ancient demon summoning magic works, actually, in a lot of cultures, is that the way that necromancy works in those things is that when you call upon an entity, unless you very, very specifically, very, very clearly, and very, very concisely state which entity you want to bring in, it's going to bring in whatever answers the call. So it could be Satan himself. Doesn't matter. Not like the spell cares. You didn't specify. You just said, call something. It said, okay, guess I'm calling Satan.
Is the difference between having a spiritual switchboard and just using a freaking megaphone.
It really is. No, definitely. It's, you have a massive concert full of people. You only want one person to come on stage, but you're just like, hey, everybody, first person on stage stays on stage.
And then all of a sudden you do have a wave.
yeah. Then just everyone's fighting and screaming and, like, they get all feral trying to get up to it. They just have some random person. You don't know if it's the guy. You're like, close enough. All right, now sing a song. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm a drummer, dude. I can't sing. And it's like, well, I tried. So yeah, are there any more questions that you guys have?
Were you able to catch earlier when Zur was talking about the Pokemon aspect?
Yes, that's a great question.
Would a Pokemon world and all those cool abilities and stuff be considered a magic system?
In my mind, yes. Because they are something that breaks scientific bounds and runs off of its own rules in addition to current scientific research.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, right? Like, there's nothing against, like, just using, for example, like, in your world, if it just is that there are these, like, blue crystals that, like, everyone knows that it's a force. Everyone's off a scientific force that can be quantified and all that. You want to use that, fair enough. Science all the way. I like steampunk, I like cyberpunk, let's go. But if it's, I don't really know what this does, I just know it glows blue. It's, yeah, you know what, I'd call that a magic system. Like, because the thing is, right, if you found a pile of radioactive glowing dust, like, I don't know, you found, like, cesium-135 just hanging out in the environment, you'd probably, like, immediately come up with a magic system in your head on the fly. This looks like fairy dust. It's glowing blue. It has to be magic. I don't know what it does, but I'm about to find out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of science that we have today is we explained what used to be considered magic.
Oh, yeah. Like, alchemy? Yeah. Chemistry and alchemy are one and the same. The only difference is that alchemy was a religion out of chemistry.
Yeah.
And then chemistry is they were like, I don't know if I like this Jeebus guy hanging on to this.
Oh my goodness. And that's kind of to go with what Superhero is saying, like, instead of magic bring back this technology, hey, like, it's still, like, it's cool that, like, all y'all can relate to this, for one. Both Blinks and Azur were like, should bounce some more ideas off you guys, maybe. Sounds very fun.
I encourage everybody to share their ideas and just, like, talk about it. Like,
yeah.
Like, don't be embarrassed because you think it might be cringe. Like, okay, what do you think that the people who made the Forgotten Realms, the most popular thing that currently includes magic in game form. Do you think that they sat around a table and were like, oh, we are the coolest shit. We are so cool. You know, like, no, they were nerds who sat in their basement who wanted to play a game. They did not think very highly of themselves, and yet look at where D&D is now. We're on the 5th edition. Like, Jesus. I own a book I bought full price, and I've never opened for D&D.
Yeah. Oh, this is like a perfect like kind of callback. Like I was like, why am I having deja vu? Yesterday when Caitlin
Yes, the
and
Breaking Bad
Ari were
thing.
having their panel. Yes. And they were talking about how the creator of like Breaking Bad wouldn't have made Breaking Bad if they had known that another show going off the same concept like was Weeds was going
Yeah.
on at the same time. If they had found about that, they never would have made it. It's like, make it anyways.
Do it anyway. You've always got a story to
Like
tell.
I swear that's gonna be like the theme of this whole con at this point is like,
Yes.
it sounds cringe, do it anyways.
Do it anyways.
Yeah, CozyCon, just do it.
Wait
Wait a second, no, we can't use that one.
Like, Caitlin's panel, it actually really inspired me. I do not, unfortunately. Do you remember the other person in the panel?
Ari or
Caitlin and
Metajoker.
Ari. Okay, their panel. It actually inspired me that, you know what? No, I'm calling my my comic that I've been wanting to do for a long time in Fern's World with that magic system that I was talking about earlier. I'm gonna make it. It's gonna be called The Tragedy of Van Virus, and I will be making that comic now because screw it. I am never going to make the comic that I want to make unless I start making the one that I like, inevitably one that I'm gonna screw up now. Like, I can always come back and make it better. It's okay.
Oh my goodness. I was laughing with just kind of glee yesterday when they were talking about that, and honestly just going into it now again because so many times I've looked at what I've created or oh man, I remember like with my characters, a lot of them have a Sonic origin because I was
Nice.
a mega Sonic fan. I still am, and like I had a series
Sonic?
of years where I hid that. You know? Oh hey, by the way, before I go into this anymore, were there more points that we had to get through, or are we kind of in like talk and time all Q&A?
We're actually good. We're in the Q&A. We got through
Sweet.
everything.
All right, perfect.
Yes,
all right.
and I want to go ahead
So it's
and
okay if I go into this.
I will encourage you to TLDR it a bit.
You
because
got
we
it.
are running short on time. We got about 13 minutes left.
No, that's why I was gonna say. Was there something that you wanted to roll into before we were starting to wind down?
I will briefly kind of like close us out on the magic thing, at least here with a statement of, again, like, if you have a system that you're thinking of doing, if you have a game that you're thinking of running, if you have an idea that you want to do, but you feel like you can't do it, I encourage you to do it the fuck anyway. Do it anyway.
Yeah.
It does not matter. I guarantee you that there is someone who has probably made it before. That's okay. Someone has probably had your idea before. Someone has probably done that before. But guess what? Just because someone has already like died before, that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt any less when the next person does. Just because you've had a pizza before doesn't mean you're any less excited when you have your next pizza. Like, when I go to get a pizza, I know I'm going to be in significant amounts of pain because of my stomach, but damn, I'm excited for that bitch.
Well, Ampulix like chimed in a minute ago. It was just like, even if it's been around, no one's done it quite like you.
Exactly. Your delivery, your experience, your life is going to add so much more to the story than ever could be added by anyone else. No one is going to be able to write that story like you. Whether that's a good or bad thing, it does not matter. Do it anyway. The experience is what people are after, even if it is pain to read because of how negative it is. Like, for example, The Recloseted Lesbian is a comic that I read a lot. I read it every time it updates. It's extremely sad and extremely painful to read because they are talking about very real, very serious trauma and abuse they go through on the daily. And they did go through on the daily. And despite that, I still read it. There's another comic that goes over the same thing. And yet, guess what? I'm also caught up with all 357 pages of it, and I still read them every time it updates.
Having more things that resonate with the same thing is not a bad thing.
Exactly.
It only serves to further validate the experiences that we've all had together.
And it greater expands the reach. And you know, let's say someone has read your comic, they've read everything that everyone's always, you know, like everyone, they've read like all 500 pages of your comic. Well, guess what? You say, man, I mean, I know, like, or rather than saying like, man, this other person's done it before, I don't want to do it, say instead, if you have seen all of my content and you want to see the inspiration, look there. They're the reason I'm doing this. I want to add my stuff to this too. Don't fight against each other. Like, just, I hate that idea. No, you do not fight against your friends. Like, you may be an artist, you may be in an industry, but we don't have to give in to this stupid idea of fighting each other. We can exist together and help each other grow. That is how we live together in solidarity.
Good Lord, my life has changed. That was a perspective that I switched out like 5 years ago, and it changed
Same.
everything.
I used to be a total asshole to artists that I met because, like, back in the day, I was such a total. I was like the worst. Like, many, many years ago, I was like horrible, vindictive, and I was like, no, you can't have my stuff. Ah! And I'm just like, whatever, who cares? I will literally send. If someone wants to read the notes that I have on this panel, I will literally just send you the text document. Like, just as is. I am not going to try and be like, no, mine. Ah. Like, if you want to do another panel, whatever, I'll watch it. Like, but yeah, please, by all means, Smith, you have 8 minutes if you would like to briefly speak on that.
Oh, where I was coming from earlier was just simply like I came from like the Sonic stuff for all of mine, and one of my main characters, Midnight, like talked about her tons, but she had, you know, storm abilities, and I totally got that entirely from X-Men's Storm.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
And I was so in love with it, and I was like, I'm gonna, you know, eventually I weeded it out, and I tried to make this whole other system just out from scratch, and then was like, oh wait, someone else has done this system already too. Oh my gosh, did I just circle back around to Chaos Emeralds? Yes, I did. Exactly. Do it anyway.
Point's gone. Do it anyway. 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 This is a threat. Make your art. I want to see it. That good shout, by the way, with the plug.
Yeah, no, if we're coming up on time, it's time to start winding down, and you need to talk about yourself.
Firstly, thank you all for attending the panel. It's been amazing being able to perform this at CozyCon. I did not expect my panel to actually be accepted, and it's super freaking sweet to be able to like actually present it like this, and I'm really, really stoked to see everybody super excited about it. Because I always feel like I know I talk about like kill the cringe, but or like kill the part of you that cringes, excuse me, but like I still, you know, have that bit of self-doubt that comes in. But I mean, I'm an artist, that's how it goes.
Well, we have to learn how to take our own advice, you know.
Yeah That's the hardest part. I give it's like that who is it, like Dorothy, where she's like, I give great advice, I just very seldomly follow it.
But a better way to put it is that we are always trying to learn, you know, relearn and re-ingest the advice we're giving.
I learned the same lesson like so many times. But anyway, to go briefly into this, my name is Trust Me, I Exist. I make 3D art, like the thing you can see behind me, and the character you can barely see on the screen. That is like a 3D re-edition of my actual real life room that I am sitting in at the moment. It's just a little bit different because I'm lazy. I mean, because it was it, you know, didn't fit the camera. Yeah. It, like, I have Ko-fi, Discord, all that shit, all the natural things that people have. I stream on Twitch, games and art. Yeah. But more importantly, on the right side of the screen, we have a deer piloted by Mythix, who also does the art and things, and is doing a panel later.
How dare you use my own spell against me?
Yeah, I know, right? I am the half-blooded prince.
You dare.
All right, now plug yourself. Do it.
First off, Blinks, too bad you're already our friend. And I hope you have a really good time making friends at the con, and thank you for sharing your system with us today as well as the questions from the rest of you guys. Oh my gosh, are you just making Avron bigger? I just now saw that happening. Oh my goodness. Sorry, that was delayed, but gosh. Well, yeah, no, my name is Mythix. It was fun to jump on this panel, be able to see what y'all were saying in the chat, and talk with y'all. Talk a little bit about magic as I've come to study it and understand it. Thanks for having me on, Trust.
Oh, and absolutely, and thank you for talking about that. I know that's been like something that you've been a bit like scared to talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's like, I mean, spirituality in like religion can be a touchy subject, but when it comes down to boiling it to, hey, this is just something that you're doing to understand more about yourself or how you view the world around you, it honestly just kind of boils down to it's a mental and emotional tool.
Oh yeah, and
for real life practice.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm always down for more like open discussion about these things, and that is what is so important about this stuff, is that like my kind of motto is, regardless of what it is, if it ain't hurt nobody, who cares? Really, just who cares? What, you like role playing in Final Fantasy? Go for it. You think I don't? Like,
right?
Let's go. I'll be hanging out in the VR chat world some point today, and like I said, you'll see me around in different panels. I know Zay's doing one later, which I will definitely try to hop in on, or at the very least watch inside of one of the worlds. You will likely see Hibby, which is my pink like goat looking character, which is a deer TM.
And for my end, I'm gonna be hopping around as well. Yeah. I made the 2 PNG tubers that you see on the screen. I saw someone say that they were really cute earlier. Thank you so much. I think it was Jack. And I'm offering emotes like these during CozyCon, so please check them out over in the server or on the vendor site. And I will also be doing a character clinic tonight at 9 p.m. EST.
Yes.
And I will be doing where you can win emotes tomorrow at, I believe it's 6 p.m.
Ooh.
EST. 7 p.m. 7 p.m. EST. I'll be rolling marbles where you guys can win emotes. Yes. So yeah, I would love to see you guys there.
And for y'all using the CozyCon time, that is 8 Central and 6 Central.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And as always, CozyCon, thanks for having us.
Oh, absolutely. Like I super plan on returning. This has been a fantastic experience.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a fun con.
I know, right? You know, I like legit just went to like the Minecraft world last night and just chilled there.
Nice.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's about all I've got, but I mean, we've only got like 40 seconds left, so.
All right then. Well, bye everybody. Have a fun rest of the con.
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely been a treat. And like I said, thank you again for joining. Check out Myth. They make good art.
Check out Trust. They make good art.
It occurs to me I said goodbye too early.